Good morning, everybody. It's the first Saturday in May. Welcome to you around the country, around the world. My name is Dr. Dick Walker, and we're going to be talking about the science and the practical applications of redox. So let's get started. Okay, just a little bit about me in case you don't know me. I've been a physician for many years. I'm MD with board certifications in both internal and emergency medicine. I also have a master's in public health and preventive medicine and environmental health. I'm a father. I'm actually a grandfather. I love climbing mountains, hiking, doing all kinds of cool things. Just bought some e-bikes. And I'm on the Asea Medical Professional Board. So hopefully that gives you some clue about whether or not I know what I'm talking about this morning. If you want more information, here's some sources. You may want to take a quick screenshot of that. The science of redox, PubMed's a great area. The science of Asea Redox, AseaScience.com is great. And for some recordings and stories and testimonials, those other sites are just incredible. Also, if you want to access a recording of this presentation, the best place and easiest place to find it is to go to redoxmatters.com. Across the top, there's a menu. Go to videos, click that. There's a section, Dr. Dick Walker. Just click on that, and there's a series of my recordings available if you want to watch them or get them out to other folks. So we're going to be talking about Asea Redox. This is our corporate headquarters. Our manufacturing facility is across the way. And we're going to talk about why is redox important? Well, why do you eat food? Why do you drink water? Why do you breathe oxygen? All of these are crucial to life. And yet most people don't realize it, but so are redox signaling molecules. The only difference here is that we can actually make redox signaling molecules in every one of our cells. We can't make food, water, or oxygen, but all of these are crucial in producing the redox signaling molecules that we're going to talk about this morning. So redox signaling molecules are absolutely a requirement for healthy functional cells of all types, not better with one or another, but all types. And they're really the foundation of cellular metabolism. And cellular dysfunction, as most of you, I think, realize as healthcare professionals, is really the root cause of all illness. Sometimes we lose track of that fact and we ignore that at our peril. And redox interventions actually work best upstream to prevent metabolic breakdowns and the consequences of that. However, at any stage, restoring redox homeostasis can restore the functionality of cells and help them to orchestrate the ability to repair and replace damaged cells, which really is the key to maintaining a healthy body. Redox homeostasis and redox signaling are essential for maximizing cellular health. Now, I want to put in our disclaimer here because I want you not to think of redox signaling molecules as a drug. They're much more important and much more effective than any drug out there. But this product is not intended to cure, heal, or treat any particular disease. Asea supplies an additional source of redox signaling molecules over and above what your cells are producing that your cells can utilize to supplement and enhance the actions that naturally occurring redox signaling molecules provide. And if your body happens to be one that doesn't need any extra redox signaling molecules, which would be unusual, your body just ignores them and they're metabolized and just add to the fluid and the electrolytes of your cell. What is life? Because it's important to talk about this for you to really understand how foundational redox signaling is. But life is really nothing more or less than a complex series of molecular interactions. It's chemistry. It's a bunch of molecules vibrating around, gyrating, bumping into each other. It's a little bit like the mosh pit at a rock concert. But these molecules are sharing properties and sharing information when they do that. And this is all ruled by a complex genetic code. And it's governed by the natural laws of physics and biochemistry. But until about 20 or 25 years ago, What we didn't realize was how important redox was to that. And we'll talk a little bit about what redox actually is chemically, but it's really all about gaining or losing electrons. We'll cover that in slightly more detail, but don't worry, we're not going to tie your brain in knots over the biochemistry of redox. But life, how does life work to coordinate all of that activity, that mosh pit of activity that we could see if we were using some of the modern instruments of science, electron microscopy and all that sort of stuff. But to understand, you have to start to understand really small things. Atoms, not so much, but molecules for sure, and cells for sure. But what many people lose track of is all of the different things that molecules do. They serve as building blocks for cell structures. They are the biochemistry that is providing function, creating energy, enabling life, really. They're information processing, and that's something that many people have not really understood in the past. These molecules are used for communication. These molecules are the foundation for all healthy cells. All this biochemistry that's going on, without effective coordination and control, life itself would not happen. So what's the answer? Well, it's all about managing information. It's all about coordinating and communicating information within the cell and between the cells that make up the human body. And it's all about cellular adaptation, because our cells and our bodies are constantly adapting to the environment that exists, both internally and externally. That's a process that we call hormesis, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. That's an old concept that now is really taking hold in the scientific community as we start to understand how important it is for our cells to adapt to the rapidly changing circumstances in our bodies. And what we now know is that redox communication via redox signaling molecules is what coordinates all of this information so that our cells can react and maintain health. So what is redox signaling specifically? Well, it's a scientifically documented mechanism of cellular communication that's essential to the functions of physiology and health. It's really key to coordinating this huge range of biochemistry and physiologic processes that are going on in and between our cells. And using redox signaling molecules to sustain order and the adaptive responses necessary for health and wellness is really what redox signaling is all about. So I told you I would explain redox reactions to you. Well, it comes from the terms oxidation and reduction. And these redox reactions are taking place between molecules all the time, 24/7, in untold numbers throughout your body. Oxidation is merely the loss of an electron. A molecule is giving up an electron. Reduction is the process of gaining an electron. Cellular respiration, which is the process that generates energy from the food we eat, is a redox process. It's driven by oxygen, and that's why that oxygen is so essential to life. And these redox reactions produce water, carbon dioxide, reactive oxygen species, which we'll talk. These are reactive molecules that are short an electron, looking for one of those to be satisfied, and reactive nitrogen species, similar story there. And these reactive oxygen and reactive nitrogen species are really the most important and the majority of redox signaling molecules. And they serve as regulatory mediators in this signaling process, playing a role in maintaining redox homeostasis. Redox homeostasis simply means that your cells are producing an equal number of reactive molecules and antioxidant molecules. And the holy grail is redox homeostasis. And when our cells are producing roughly the same amounts of both, they're happy, there's no inflammation, things are on cruise control, and our health benefits from that. Now, I want to point out that everything we're talking about this morning is based on science. It all comes from conclusions that scientists have made and published in a database such as PubMed.gov from the National Institute of Health. So nothing that I'm saying is speculation, nothing that I'm saying is is coming strictly just from the Asea research. This is coming from scientists all over the globe that are publishing their research. Here's an article, reactive oxygen species. Remember, they're a byproduct of these redox reactions, homeostasis and redox regulation in cellular signaling. So if you want to start to really dive deeper into this, hold your breath and stay under the surface, then start to look at some of these sources to get a more profound understanding. You certainly don't need that to share Asea. You don't need that to recommend this to other people. But if you're scientifically inquisitive, that's where you want to go look. What's an example of a redox signaling molecule? Well, the top line on this slide are examples: superoxides, hydrogen peroxide, hypochlorous acid, nitric oxide. You may think some of those sound weird or unusual, but that's what derives from these chemical reactions. And these are the molecules that our cells use to set up this communication system. There are transcription factors and cytokines and hormones. All of these other signaling systems depend on redox to work. So here's another overview, an overview of the mechanisms of redox signaling. Real science, folks. And look down in the left lower corner of this slide. This is reference 19 out of over 34,000 references dealing with redox signaling in one way or another. Here's another one, redox homeostasis, the golden mean of healthy living. If that doesn't strike you as giving you an idea of how important redox signaling is scientifically and practically to our health, I don't know what will. And this is another one of those many abstracts available in the scientific literature. Let's talk about the health pyramid, the hierarchy of physiology and health. I used to say it started at cells, but now we know that it really starts at a much more foundational level. It starts with epigenetics and DNA and genetics and cellular metabolic pathways, all of which we're going to touch on today. And if you look at these pyramids side by side, the one on the left is the one I just showed you. DNA controls our genetics. But if we look at it in a slightly different way, what we start to understand is that this redoxome, which is all about redox and redox signaling, controls our epigenetics and genetics. It controls our transcription factors, which is what determines what genes run our cells and our bodies, producing proteins and controlling all of this metabolism. Don't worry, there's a lot of concepts there, and we'll explain this as we go through, and I think you'll have a better understanding. But hopefully what this indicates to you is how absolutely crucial this is to your overall health and the health of your clients and patients if you are a healthcare professional. But redox signaling molecules are important because genes give life-sustaining instructions to our cells, and cells carry out those instructions to keep us alive and healthy. And genetic expression requires redox signaling molecules. There are a number of redox-sensitive switches or decisions that need to be made at the cellular level to bring about healthy gene expression. And so having a balanced supply of redox molecules to help facilitate that process is really crucial. Transcription factors, which are essential to gene expression, are redox controlled. And with age and cell communication breaks down, signals weaken, gene expression is disrupted when epigenetic pathways are affected and are deficient or not in a healthy functional status. Maintaining redox balance helps to ensure the integrity of redox cellular communication and effective, accurate genetic expression. And nothing could be more important than effective, active, or accurate genetic expression if you want to maintain or improve your health. So what specifically is Asea redox? Up till now, we've been sort of talking about redox signaling in general because it's going on a 24/7 basis in your body. It's a foundation to much of our health. But what is Asea redox, this supplement that we drink or spray on our bodies? Well, Asea Redox is a proprietary and patented combination of redox signaling molecules that's manufactured by Asea. And these molecules are maintained in a reactive state. I used to say stabilized, but that's really not all that accurate because these molecules are not stable. They are reactive. And they are maintained in a reactive state in that blue bottle in which you buy your Asea. And they're formulated specifically to optimize the physiologic signaling effects of redox molecules on cell interaction. What's important here to understand is that the redox signaling molecules that are made natively, naturally in all of your cells all of the time only exist for fractions of a second, and then they get used up, or they decay to salt water. The ones that are in your blue bottle will maintain their reactivity for up to 3.5 to 4 hours after you drink them, and your body disseminates them around to your cells. So they're much more available for a much longer time, and they serve as a backup to the ones that your cells are making. It's also a biotech product protected by both patents and trade secrets, designed to replenish bioidentical redox signaling molecules safely and effectively. You might want to take a screenshot of this so next time somebody asks you, well, what are redox signaling molecules? What's in that blue bottle? This might be something that you could use as an answer. So as healthcare professionals, we all deal with people who come into our office every day with a group of symptoms. And if you're not a professional, but you're a potential patient, you know what I'm talking about. You don't have any energy. You don't feel good. You might have an ache or a pain here or something. And what I want to point out here is that every one of those symptoms has a cause. And we spend millions of dollars as healthcare professionals trying to find that cause. But ultimately, every one of those symptoms has a cause at the cellular and metabolic level. And if you want to simplify things, every one of those symptoms is caused by one of two things: either cells that are not doing what they're supposed to do automatically without you ever thinking about it, or cells that are doing something that they're not supposed to do, like rapidly dividing and creating problems, or cells that are supposed to be secreting hormones that aren't doing it, or cells that are supposed to be providing muscle strength and flexibility, but aren't doing their job. So every symptom that you have really has a foundation in cellular dysfunction, and ultimately, to one degree or another, in redox dysfunction. So if you're a physician, you'll spend a lot of money trying to find a definitive cause. If you're into metabolics and understanding of disease at the foundation, you don't really have to do that. If somebody has a symptom, it indicates that they've got a cellular problem that could potentially benefit from supplementing with these molecules. So what do I mean by that? Well, this is an example, and we'll go through several of these in the remaining time. But let's say your cells are happy, they're in redox balance, what we call redox homeostasis. Everything's fine. No signals are being sent about any kind of distress. But what happens if that balance is upset and there's more reactive molecules being produced, in your metabolism than your antioxidants can handle? That's what we call oxidative stress. It's like a fire in your cells, and that sends out certain signals to your cells and to neighboring cells that there's a problem here. The house is on fire. We've got oxidative stress, and that signals changes in your genetic expression. It signals all kinds of changes that bring about the materials that are necessary to solve the problem. Antioxidants, enzymes, vitamins, minerals. But the redox signaling molecules are the labor that puts all of that together in the right place at the right time. Let's look at this a little differently in sort of a diagrammatic fashion. There's a signaling event that would be the fire. And that sends out a message, a redox message that is then sensed by the rest of the cells, and that's called detection. Oh my gosh, there's a problem here that we need to work on. That then is communicated to the areas in the cell that need to react to this and to do something about it. There's the communication part. And then a solution is derived. And this happens instantaneously with no thought involved, and you don't even know what's going on. But if it's not happening, then the solution doesn't take place. So that's called modulation. So let's look at a more specific example of this. And what we're talking about here is hormesis in action. It's adapting to changes at the cellular level. And it's how our cells react and adapt and maintain or regain health if there's a problem. So let's talk about one of the biggest challenges to our cells, decreased energy production. How does that happen? Well, it can happen with fasting, or it can happen in many areas of the world with starvation, because people simply can't find enough food to power their cells, to power those reactions in the mitochondria that turn food into energy and redox signaling molecules. So that's the problem. The problem is you're hungry and you need to do something about it, because that's how we feel this signal. But this signal is also happening at the biochemical level by changes in oxidative stress. That sends out a signal to our cells. There's a problem here, and the problem is we don't have enough energy. That gets communicated to the area of the cell, mostly the mitochondria, to do something different. Okay, we're not eating food. Where are we going to get the calories, the energy that we need to produce the ADP or ATP that our cells need to power everything that's going on here? The solution in this case is what we call nutritional ketosis. The body, you see, the body will first burn carbohydrates for energy, but when it doesn't have carbohydrates, then it switches to the fat that is stored in your cells throughout your body. And even if you're not overweight, you still have many calories of energy stored in fat throughout your body. So this thing that we call nutritional ketosis is a very important property. And if you're wondering if you've ever been in nutritional ketosis, well, you have, because you go into that situation every night unless you stay up all night and continue to eat. Your body senses that you're not consuming any sources of energy, and so it starts to develop nutritional ketosis and switches to burning fat while you're sleeping, because your body does need energy 24/7, even if you're not feeding it in the middle of the night. So what is hormesis, this term that I brought up a little earlier? Well, hormesis is our stress adaptation stress response. Remember when I said, nothing is static, nothing is unchanging in our body. Things are always changing at the cellular level. We are always going in and out of oxidative stress. And so hormesis is an adaptive response of a biologic system to modulate or moderate environmental or self-imposed challenges. Because dieting will cause a self-imposed stress that requires adaptation. And one of those adaptations is to burn fat, which is really what we're after, right? So these self-imposed challenges or starvation would be a challenge imposed by your surroundings if you can't find food, improves the functionality or tolerance to more severe challenges. So in other words, you can teach your cells to want to burn fat and not just carbohydrates. So essentially, your cells learn and adapt to become better at looking for stored fat and burning it. Again, the example, starvation or fasting. The adaptation is for your cells to switch fuels from carbohydrates to fats, and unfortunately, proteins in some instances. In starvation, your body will start to burn your muscle mass, your proteins, and that's really a big problem when people are starving. But nutritional ketosis creates fatty acids and ketones that fuel your cells and create the energy that your cells need. Your brain, by the way, loves ketones as fuel. Your muscles know what to do with ketones, as does your brain, and it can power that fight or flight response that's so important to survival. Now, we don't have to be fighting or running away from lions and tigers. We can be fighting or running away from hunger, starvation, any number of changes. And and redox sensitive switches make this adaptation possible. By going in and out of nutritional ketosis every day, it helps us to be metabolically adapted, metabolically flexible. That improved metabolic flexibility comes about by adapting to bioenergetic and metabolic changes and can naturally enhance things like athletic performance. Supplementing with Asea Redox facilitates this adaptation without having to fully deplete our glycogen stores. And that's why you may have sometimes heard us talk about redox signaling molecules as biohacking your system. In other words, we can, by supplementing with redox signaling molecules, to a degree, simulate this response, this metabolic flexibility, and encourage our cells to be more adaptive at burning fat. So there's tons of scientific evidence that nutritional ketosis that we have in our bodies every night when we go to sleep does facilitate cellular health and repair. And that's one of the reasons why I always tell people that you should take a dose of Asea Redox before you go to bed, because when you're sleeping and when you're in this mild nutritional ketosis that is self-imposed naturally by your cells, that's when your cells do much of the restoration and repair that is naturally occurring and vital to your health. We know scientifically that nutritional ketosis contributes to wellness. It contributes to counteracting the diverse nature of metabolic problems that occur with aging. It helps to reverse metabolic disorders. It helps to reverse neurodegenerative disorders. And in fact, before we had powerful anticonvulsant medications, it used to be used and recommended to help people with seizure disorders. Nutritional ketosis and encouraging that helped to lessen seizures because of its effect on energy supplies and redox signaling in the brain. It helps recovery from traumatic brain injuries. It helps recover from excessive weight issues. Now, note, I'm not talking about Asea doing these per se. We're talking about nutritional ketosis, which is redox driven and controlled, that happens naturally in our bodies, but we can encourage and biohack to some degree. So it occurs naturally with sleep, fasting, exercise, and or by biohacking with this product. Asea has massive impact on athletics, largely because of what we've just been talking about. It improves endurance and strength and recovery and mental stamina. In fact, there was a study done by Dr. Niemann a number of years ago that showed that supplementing with redox signaling molecules shifted 43 metabolites out of a total, I think, of 500 that they were measuring. And they mostly had to do with mobilization of free fatty acids, belly fat in particular, so our body could use those for fuel. And we store much more energy in fat than we do in carbohydrates in the form of glycogen. There was a 30% increase in sparing of muscle glycogen, actually, and the athletes noted that during the recovery phase after exercise, training, or an event. And we found in mice that consuming Asea caused a 29% increase in endurance, and mice don't respond to any sort of placebo effect. These results were largely achieved, I think, because it puts our body into a nutritional ketosis situation and encourages it to burn fat. And athletes that are using Asea notice the benefits of this pretty darn quickly. What was amazing in that study was Dr. Niemann was looking for a change with exercise and supplementation, and he found that many of those changes took place before these athletes even exercised. So let's switch gears here and talk about transcription factors, because they're very important in the results that we see with redox supplementation. It's all about epigenetics. Transcription factors are molecules that, when activated, signal and control genetic transcription and expression, by binding to the DNA sequences that are necessary. There are many, many transcription factors. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, vascular endothelial growth factor, interferon A and B, NR3C, and we're going to talk a little bit in more detail about two of the ones that we know are affected by Asea, and that's NF-kappa B and NRF2. These factors act to bring about the adaptive changes that are required to regain homeostasis through the hormetic response. They help in the repair, they help in the replace, and they help rejuvenate aging cells and much more. So let's talk about NF-kappa B and NRF2. And I'm going to hopefully be able to show you why activating NRF2 is much better than relying on your cells to activate NF-kappa B in order to restore redox homeostasis. So what happens with both of these transcription factors is our cells are nudged in the direction of producing more of our major intracellular antioxidants, glutathione and superoxide dismutase. And this is a very good thing when you're looking at controlling oxidative stress. The NRF2 is cytoprotective. NF-kappa B, however, it does cause the production of these antioxidants, but it has to be activated after your cells are in oxidative stress and producing inflammation and cytokines and chemokines that are damaging to your cells and a cause of chronic inflammation. So what we do, anything that we do to encourage NRF2 transcription factor activity over the NF-kappa B is a very good thing for long-term cellular health. So here we have a diagram of this process. So reactive oxygen species is just a general term for reactive molecules that are hungry for an electron, will steal it from other molecules, and in the process can cause damage. Don't get confused. Reactive oxygen species molecules are also the signaling molecules that we rely on for redox signaling, but those are in low concentrations in the right place in your cells, not the ones that cause damage. But your cell produces reactive oxygen species. It has to do something about that. And so if there's inflammation and a bunch of chemicals being produced in your cells as a consequence of that inflammation, it will activate NF-kappa B, which then enters your nucleus and then causes the cells to make more antioxidants. But what you really want to do is to have that interaction take place when there's only a small amount of oxidative stress, and that activates NRF2, and NRF2, without having to have the inflammation first, enters the nucleus and causes the same production, phase 2 antioxidant production. So by activating NRF2, we can bypass the bad phase 1 inflammation, and we can go straight to phase 2 and produce antioxidants to counteract any oxidative stress. We also now know through research that supplementing with redox signaling molecules can encourage this NRF2 activation over the NF-kappa B and produce these antioxidants selectively. And that's what Lee Osler in his book has coined the term Redox Rheostat. And again, this comes from all the scientific research. It's not something dreamed up by Dr. Osler or Asea. And we have essentially in our bodies, in our cells, what we call a redox rheostat, where if we have high oxidation levels, that's that red triangle, that encourages or causes the cells to go by the NF-kappa B pathway. If we have healthier levels of antioxidant defenses, lower levels of oxidative stress, that encourages our cells by activation of the NRF2 transcription factor to manage this problem in a much healthier, less disruptive way. You can also see that when we have high levels of oxidative stress, we're not producing very good levels of ATP energy. we get oxidative damage, and this encourages cell damage and death. On the other hand, if we're in balance, if we're in homeostasis, we have high ATP energy and cell proliferation and repair and healthy cells. So let's look at that sort of diagrammatically. What's the problem? Oxidative stress, excess oxidation. That gets detected by the cells. And if it's in a low level, it then encourages this activation of NRF2. I'm not going to go into detail how that happens, but if you'd like to see more detail, then read one of Dr. Osler's books where he goes into detail about how redox signaling activates. What it does is separates that keep one molecule from the NRF2 so that it can be active, translocate into the nucleus, and communicate the need for more production of antioxidants through gene expression and an improvement in antioxidant defenses. It's all biochemistry. It's all elegant in its both complexity and simplicity, and it all happens automatically. So here we have the benefits of NRF2 activation, lower levels of oxidative stress, but still oxidative stress. That stimulates natural redox signaling molecules. That stimulates NRF2, which then gives us the phase 2 activation of glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and catalase. What's interesting is that other things that we already know are healthy for us do this same thing, specifically certain dietary ingredients that we consume, exercise, sleep, and supplementing with redox signaling molecules. Also, certain bioenergetic therapies that you're familiar with also stimulate this healthy NRF2 response. Things like magnetic fields, ozone therapy, pulse electromagnetic fields, nutrition, vitamin D, certain nutraceuticals. We're going to talk about some of those later. Fasting and caloric restriction. That's how these healthy lifestyle issues contribute to our redox health. So Asea, a while back, was interested in fine-tuning their understanding of the mechanism of action for this product. And so they went to the scientists and said, you know, let's design a study that will answer these questions. Does consuming Asea Redox supplement actually have epigenetic effects on cells that could help explain some of the observed results that we're getting? Because by then Asea had been on the market for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. We were seeing all these great responses, and we were trying to dial in a little better what was this supplementation with redox signaling molecules actually doing. And if so, if it did affect the epigenetics, would it be possible to identify certain patterns or of epigenetic influence attributable to supplementing with the Asea Redox, and how long would that last? Why were we asking these questions? Because the scientific literature was telling us that cellular redox had an effect on epigenetics and disease. Here we have, let me point that article out, Cellular Redox, Epigenetics, and Disease. Here we have redox regulation of genome stability by its effects on gene expression, epigenetic pathways, and DNA damage and repair. So we were seeing in the literature all these references to redox and epigenetics and mechanisms that affected our health at the cellular level. So Asea designed a study that 60 participants. It was what we call a double-blind crossover study. So the participants at one time in the study were taking Asea, others were taking a placebo. The placebo in this case was salt water, the type of salt water that we use to produce Asea, and it was roughly half and half males and females. Point out the average age in this study was only 35 years old. So it wasn't done on elderly people who have already had a significant reduction in their production of native redox signaling molecules. This was done on healthy young adults. oftentimes we would consider them to be in the prime of their life and health. And these were adults that had no specific health challenges or diseases, and they were picked randomly. So this was a well-designed study done by Torrey Laboratories, which is a well-known genetic research company. And what they found was that there were many pathways that were affected by redox supplementation. These people were taking 8 ounces a day, but it really concentrated in these 5 areas. But these are 5 areas that are very important to health and longevity, and they affect millions of Americans and people across the world as well. I want to take a look at just one of these 5 pathways that was changed by supplementing with redox, and you can see the percentage change. We're going to focus on EGR1, not the one with the most change, but one that's really instructive at what's going on here. And what we found was that this EGR1 it's a pathway gene, so it doesn't affect things like hair color or eye color or height or any of those kind of things. Those are fixed genes that really nothing much can influence. These are signaling pathway genes that control metabolic functions, that control things like transcription factors. And these pathway genes actually don't just facilitate one type of genetic expression, but they tend to influence a group of genes. This could be because they're in a similar location on your chromosome. I don't really know that, but they do facilitate a number of different specific genes and transcription factors. And if you look here, remember we were talking about NRF2 and how redox signaling molecule supplementation appeared to improve and increase NRF2 expression. Well, there's NRF2 pathways, the second circle down on the upper left. We also have brain-derived neurotrophic factor, another transcription factor that can have significant influence over brain health, recovery, etc. Vascular endothelial growth factor, which is important in maintaining vascular health. Insulin signaling. You start to get the idea that these are important things that have important influences over our health, and they are affected by supplementing with 8 ounces of Asea a day. What we also found is that these results declined and disappeared after about 4 to 6 weeks when people stopped their supplementation. So the answer to the question, do people need to continue supplementing with the Asea Redox? They do if they want to continue getting these benefits, which I think is a pretty good reason to continue on Asea. They also found that a 4-ounce dose did not have the same effect on these signaling pathways as did an 8-ounce dose. But look at this: insulin signaling, immune system function, transcription, and gene expression, which I think is probably one of the most important things that we found out, especially on the NRF2. I would say also the brain-derived neurotrophic factor and vascular endothelial growth factor. These all have huge impacts and huge implications for cellular health. And they have huge implications for this redox pathways and redox lifestyle and how it can change with redox supplementation, because this points out that redox lifestyle improves our cellular condition, so that rheostat was the term I was trying to think. This is our redox lifestyle rheostat, showing that as we adopt healthy lifestyle, dietary changes, supplementation, exercise, improved sleep habits, all of these contribute to moving us into the left side of this rheostat, at which point we're much healthier than if we continue to do things that push us to the right of this lifestyle rheostat. So again, let's get back to the question, why is redox important? Well, redox signaling molecules are, as you've seen, an absolute requirement for healthy functional cells. Redox biology is the foundation of cellular metabolism. Cellular dysfunction is, again, the root cause of all illness. We need to address that root cause. Redox interventions work best when we also adopt a redox lifestyle. That was very strongly identified in the literature. Redox signaling is essential to maximizing cellular health, and redox powers the potential for enhancing our lives in multiple ways. Now, I'd like to sort of start wrapping this up by a discussion of cellular aging, because that's the most common risk factor for all chronic and degenerative diseases, no matter where you live in the world. Cellular aging is an important factor in determining the nature of your health. But is it inevitable? Are the problems that we develop with aging inevitable, or is there something we can do about it? Well, I'm going to start this discussion by showing you a series of pictures. This is a woman who started supplementing with redox signaling molecules, both internally and externally, at age 84. And I think at 7 weeks and at age 86 and 87 and 92, you can see that there are positive changes happening that appear to be anti-aging in nature. You can tell from her smile that she's a lot happier at 92 than she was at 84. And you can tell by looking at her skin that things are moving in the right direction here. Here's another picture of your body being able to counteract the negative effects of aging on skin. We can't take pictures of the inside of your body. Wouldn't it be interesting if we could, to see what was going on with your internal organs as well as you supplement with Asea? I think it's obvious that these wrinkles and blemishes and things that occur naturally with aging are now slowing down and reversing. That scar on the right, that's not so as much an aging picture as just, ordinarily that woman would be stuck with that scar for the rest of her life. But after a couple of months of using Asea Redox, both internally and topically, that scar's gone and it's not going to come back. Age spots, you can see what happened on the left-hand side in those pictures. Just another couple of examples of the kinds of things that happen when people use these molecules to supplement their natural supply. We don't just have pretty pictures, we also have research from a company called Dermatest, which is a leading skin testing company that tests a variety of different products. And you can see the difference that it made in certain aspects of our skin health. And it looks better, not because we're covering things up. It looks better because we're improving the health of that skin. And that is our Renew 28 topical application of redox signaling molecules. I'll show you at the end that we also have a new skincare system that goes even further in enhancing the redox health of your skin. But Asea Redox is absolutely the most powerful anti-aging discovery of our lifetime. It doesn't replace healthy lifestyle habits, but it accentuates the effects of adopting healthy lifestyle habits. So you're not going to get the same effects by supplementing with the Asea Redox if you're a couch potato that you will if you get out, move your body, pay attention to what you eat, pay attention to the amount of rest and sleep and recovery time that you get. Things like that are synergistic with supplementing with redox. So aging and chronic inflammation is an important connection. It's a new branch of age-related research into what we call immunosenescence that are associated with the loss of redox balance and homeostasis. And low-grade chronic inflammation, read oxidative stress, is a highly significant risk factor for morbidity and mortality in older patients. Common factors are increased redox stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, epigenetic modifications, deregulation of the immune system, and much more. All are associated with decreases in our natural production of redox signaling molecules than on the decline in redox efficiency. Don't take my word for it. Look at the research. Here we have a couple of references, and there's many, many more, about dysregulated redox signaling and chronic lung disease. All has to do with inflammation, reactive oxygen species, inflammation, and lung disease. All kinds of information out there in the literature linking redox health, or the lack of it, to various health problems. Aging impairs cellular communication. There's no question about that. And age-related decrease in redox signaling contributes to an increase, just checking the time here, in disease. Why? Because you have a decreasing ability to control all of this biochemistry we've been talking about, a decrease in epigenetic signaling and DNA expression, decrease in the ability to repair cellular damage, to replace severely damaged or dying cells through apoptosis, decreased level of autophagy, which is what many of you would call detoxing, getting rid of cellular debris that's accumulated in our cells that needs to be discarded out of the cell so that our body can get those things out of our body through the liver and the kidneys. Decreased in immune protection from infections and cancer, and increase in autoimmune diseases. All of these things occur with aging, and they're all in one way or another related to redox health. But don't take my word for that either. Look at a small sampling of the references available that relate redox signaling and declines in certain functions with aging. Certainly, a decline in our mental abilities is one of the things that the elderly worry about the most. Redox signaling in neurotransmission and cognition, reactive oxygen species mediating signaling and aging, redox biology in neurologic function, dysfunction, and aging. Folks, the literature is rife with information in formation, not inflammation, that documents the really glaring need for us to pay attention to our redox health. Redox signaling in skeletal muscle, role of aging and exercise, redox signaling in neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration. So I'll ask that question again. Cellular aging, is it inevitable? Can specific nutritional ingredients, in addition to redox signaling molecules, acting through redox-sensitive pathways, influence cell performance to help counteract the effects of cell aging? Now, that's an important question. I think I've indicated, and the literature was certainly indicating, that simply improving our redox status and modulating cellular inflammation, cellular inflammation equals oxidative stress. By modulating that, we certainly can control some of the adverse effects of aging. But can we go one step further? And could we identify nutritional ingredients, phytonutrients, etc., that could affect certain redox pathways, that could affect cell performance and help counteract the effects of cellular aging? And that now gives rise to a discussion of a new group of products that Asea has just released, what are called cell performance blends, that are designed to impact certain aspects of our health. And understand that every ingredient in these new products are active and have been proven active and effective before Asea even considered putting them in these new cell performance products. They had to have at least 2 to 3 out of 4 of these characteristics, that they were beneficial for gene regulation, that they were cytoprotective, that means cell protective, that they helped us to adjust and recover, that they helped an adaptive responses. So none of these, no ingredients were even considered unless they hit on at least 2, and most of them 3 or 4 of these characteristics. So Asea came up with 3 different cell performance supplements. They come in a little pack that you tear the top off and mix in, water. You can mix it in 6 ounces of water, 12 ounces of water. My wife likes to put them in a 1-liter water bottle, and you can mix and match them. They are not sensitive to being mixed with other products. You can put them in a smoothie, in a fruit smoothie, for example. You could sprinkle them on a salad and consume them that way, whatever. They are stable, nutritional ingredients. And we've adopted the concept of powered by Redox. You'll see that little logo in the upper right-hand corner. And every one of these is designed to impact a certain aspect of your health. And it's pretty obvious just by the name of the product. Redox Mind helps you with cognition and mental clarity. And you know, if you have brain fog, we are hearing people report that this is having a beneficial effect on that sort of thing. Energy, certainly many people are taking Redox, are taking energy drinks, that sort of thing. This is a much healthier way to enhance your energy, and mood, of course, is pretty self-explanatory as well. But I'm going to focus in on one of these, since we've just been talking about cellular aging. Are there nutritional answers to some of these problems that develop with aging, and could our Powered by Redox help in that regard? Certainly cognition and mental clarity and that sort of thing is really an important issue when it comes to those of us who are getting older. Full disclosure, I just turned 74. So this is a very apropos product. And I took one of these this morning. But we're talking about things here, nutrients, phytonutrients that work with, not against, your brain's redoxome. They enhance your redox lifestyle. They don't replace, but they enhance. They embrace the anti-aging effects of certain nutritional supplements on your brain that have already been proven in independent research, or they weren't even considered to be included in this product. And they help most as we grow older, both by contributing to redox homeostasis as well as neurologic adaptability. But you don't have to be old to use this supplement. I know people in their 30s who have brain fog. I know people in their 20s who suffer from some of these issues because their brain isn't working as effectively, efficiently, and doing the job that they'd like it to do. So look at some of these examples. Nicotinamide mononucleotide, easier said, NMN. It's precursor of NAD+, which is a very important cell mediator and critical component of our redox energy pathways. So all of these ingredients, this ingredient is important in helping our cells to produce energy, as well as helping our cells to produce redox homeostasis. It's been called the guardian of our genes, and levels are 50% or less by the time we hit middle age. So here we have a nutritional ingredient that contributes to redox health in several different ways. Red-orange complex improves electron transport chain in the mitochondria, protects mitochondria, and also directly increases NRF2 activity. Multiple central nervous system benefits, neuroprotective, neurogenic, and it enhances cognition. All of these claims that I'm talking about here have been independently proven and in the literature, or it wouldn't even have been considered for inclusion in Redox Mind. Garden and Spanish sage, significant regulator of cellular redox balance in brain cells. Also enhances multiple cell renewal processes and increases levels of 3 major antioxidants. Guess which ones? Glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and catalase. You've heard me talk about those earlier. And phosphatidylserine, I think I pronounced that right. I've heard it different ways. But this has profound influence on cognition, on concentration, on alertness, on reasoning, and much more. Wouldn't that be nice if your brain wasn't up to snuff or you didn't feel that it was doing its job effectively? So this is an incredible nutritional product that is powered by redox and enhances our brain health, cognitive health, a number of different things with proven ingredients that are now formulated, put together in a very simple to take form and very cost effective. We also now have a brand new skincare system, which we're which I'm beginning to wrap my head around. My wife is even much better at that, and she'll be doing presentations on this. But this is formulated to take advantage of the most recent information on what causes skin to decline, whether it's aging or photo activation from sun exposure, that sort of thing. This is a wonderful product that works through redox principles, but I'm not going to talk any more about that today. It's actually only just now being released to the marketplace, but it is a very effective system based on redox principles to improve the health of your skin. So I think we can come to some important conclusions to wrap this up. We're at the top of the hour, but knowing what we know now, can we better appreciate the many problems that develop in the absence of redox balance? Can we better understand the problems with redox cell signaling are a major cause of many, if not all, diseases? And we can now appreciate the huge array of potential benefits available from redox signaling molecules and bioreplenishment with the Asea Redox and these new cell performance products. A lot of science and third-party documentation for what we're dealing with. Thousands of peer-reviewed studies and abstracts and review articles, 6 Nobel Prizes based on different aspects of redox and redox signaling. Lots and lots of focused science documenting and contributing and underpinning this product line. Again, if you want more information, take a screenshot here. You've got a lot of resources to go validate what I've been telling you this morning and understand that this is all backed by a large amount of documented science in the abstracts and in the review articles. If you want a copy or if you want to listen to a recording of this, the best way to do that, or the easiest way, is to go to redoxmatters.com. That's where Lee Osler has this book and his newer book, Healthy Matters. And I think that's the title. Anyway, you're going to love those books if you want to take a deep dive into this. But if you want to listen to the recording of this morning's presentation, go to Redox Matters, go to the top and click on videos, and you'll see a category for Dr. Walker. Click on that, and all of my Saturday morning videos will be there for you to download and watch and listen to. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording.